Hello, it's me. I had a slight camera malfunction at the beginning of this video, so you won't be able to see my face for maybe the first 3 minutes or so. Anyway, I hope you'll learn a lot from it despite the malfunction.
By the end of this video, you'll be able to interpret any pop or contemporary lead sheet because I'm going to teach you the 7 steps needed to decipher the chords on the page. I'm assuming that you know the very basics of reading music and you should know the key names on the piano. So step 1. You absolutely have to know how to build any major or minor chord. The good news is there's an easy formula for both. The bad news is that it's way better to just memorize the notes in the chord, especially the most popular ones that you'll see over and over. Memorizing chords is like the multiplication tables of piano playing. It's just faster and easier to build on those chords to memorize them. But first, the formula. Major chords have 3 notes, a bottom, middle, and top, otherwise known as the root, third, and the fifth of the chord. It's important to remember the root. The root is always the name of the chord, so a C chord has a C on the bottom. To find the other notes, all you do is count up 4 half steps from the root. By the way, a half step goes from one key to the very next key, black or white key. So from C, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's your middle note, or the third. Now we count up 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3. And that's your top note, or the fifth. So these are the notes in a C major chord. C, E, G. The minor chord formula switches the half steps around. So you start on a C for a C minor chord and then count up 3 half steps, then 4. C minor, up 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, now up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So a C minor chord is C, E flat, G. Now notice that the outer notes are the same in both major and minor. The middle note is the variable. Like I said, it is better to just memorize the notes in each chord, and grouping similar chords together in your practice and memorization may help. For example, you can group all the white key only chords, which are C, G, F, A minor, D minor, E minor. I think that's all of them. And then group all the chords that have a black key in the middle, like D, E, A. Those are all major. And then, let's see, G minor, C minor, F minor. Step 2, we need to understand lead sheet chord symbols. A major chord is written with an uppercase letter. If it's minor, it's an uppercase letter with a lowercase m. Now we can already decipher the chords in Scarborough Fair. It's a D minor chord. So there's our D, root. Now up 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. C major, there's our C root, up 4 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, C major, and then back to D minor. You typically play a chord on beat 1 of each measure. If there's not a chord written, it means to continue the chord from the previous measure. So you can either repeat the chord on beat 1, or you can simply hold the chord over. Step 3. In popular music, root position chords are by far the most common. A root position chord has the root note on the bottom. So far, we've only been playing root position chords, but sometimes the chords need to be inverted. Now, when we invert chords, we just change the order of the notes. For example, here's a G major chord in root position with G on the bottom. Right? This is how we build our chords. Now, to invert this, take the G and move it to the top of the chord. Now, the lowest note of the chord is a B, while G, the root, has moved to the top. And it's still called the root, even though it's not on the bottom. So it's just the same notes rearranged. Since this is the first time that we've rearranged or inverted the chord, we call it first inversion. We can invert it again by taking the lowest note B and move it to the top while keeping the other two notes the same. So there's B at the top. And now D is the lowest note, and we're in second inversion. Again, the note names themselves haven't changed. We still have a G, B, and a D, just the order is different, and G is still called the root even though it's not on the bottom. Now, there are only two possible inversions, because if we invert this again by moving D to the top, we're just back in G root position with G on the bottom. If you're wondering why we even bother inverting chords, it's for two main reasons. One, it can make the chord progression much easier to play by eliminating big leaps with your hands. Take a D minor chord to a G major chord as an example. If both are in root position, there's going to be a big leap. But if I invert the G major chord in this progression, most of the notes will just be a step away. So D minor root to G major second is much easier to play. And two, the lowest notes of the chords give us our bass line. So don't confuse bass line with root. And sometimes the composer specifically wants that bass line to move in a certain way. For example, in Dancing Queen, compare the following. First, I'll play a D, B, and E minor progression all in root position. Now I'll play a D to a B, first inversion to an E. That bass line walking up creates a little extra tension, anticipation, and just overall more interesting. Step 4. When you're supposed to invert a chord, you'll see what's called slash notation. The name of the chord is listed first, followed by the slash, and then what the bottom of the chord should be. So if you see a G/B, that's a G major chord with a B on the bottom. When a B is on the bottom, it's in first inversion. Here's G root, and we invert it one time, and now B is on the bottom. If you see a D minor/A, this is a D minor chord with an A on the bottom. So here's D minor in root position, and now we're going to invert it once by bringing the D up. A is still not on the bottom, F is, so we need to invert it again. Now the F is on the top, A is on the bottom. So this is a D minor/A. Let's work out the chords in this phrase from Dancing Queen. It starts with D major, then B/D sharp. First, find the notes in a B major chord by using the major scale formula. B, D sharp, and F sharp. The D sharp is the third of the chord, and this means that a B/D sharp is in first inversion. So we take the B up to the top. And now D sharp is on the bottom. Then we have an E minor chord, just root position. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And finally, an A/C sharp. Again, figure out the notes in an A major chord with the formula. A, up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, up 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's invert it by bringing A to the top. And now C sharp is on the bottom. Step 5. Next, we need to know how to add sevenths to chords. To add a seventh to any major or minor chord, add an interval of a seventh above the root, or 10 half steps. Here's our G major chord again. Now let's add the seventh. So I'm going to take my root and count up 10 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's our seventh. And now we just add back the notes of the G major chord. And there we have our G7. You can also count up 3 half steps from the 5th of your chord. So here's my G major chord, and now I can just count up 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3. It works for minor as well. And I can just count up 3 half steps from the 5th or the top of the chord. 1, 2, 3. So that's a G minor 7. There are several other types of 7th chords, and if you want to learn more about those, check out this video here, which I'll also link in the description. Step 6. You'll know you have to play a 7th chord when there's a 7 written in. The inversions work the same way, you just have to do it with 4 notes now. So look at the B7/D sharp. First, build the B7 chord. So we already know the B major chord, B, D sharp, F sharp. Now let's add the 7th by working our way up 3 half steps from the 5th of the chord. 1, 2, 3. So there's our B7. Okay, but now we have to make sure that D sharp is on the bottom. There's our D sharp. So let's invert it by taking the B up to the top. That is the B7/D sharp. Step 7. In the final step, put everything together with the pointers I'm going to give you. First, start simple. Left hand alone, making sure you've got all the chords. Second, once you add the melody, you don't always have to include all the notes from every single chord. For example, in Scarborough Fair, you could just play the bass line with the melody. Or the bottom and top notes. Not only does this give you a distant and haunting, almost hollow effect, but it helps you practice those chord changes without overwhelming yourself trying to get all 3 notes right away. Third, avoid playing full chords in the low register down here. This makes it almost impossible to really hear the notes in the chord, and it just ends up sounding like a big rumble. That's a D minor chord. Now, my 4th tip, and I probably should have put this one first, is always scan the lead sheet before diving in and practicing this. This just makes sure you know all the chords and you already have an idea what you should do. As you're scanning the score, you can do more research if needed and even write in some of the note names so that you're 100% clear of what notes are in each chord. Now, if you'd like some ideas on how to make your lead sheets elevated and sound more exciting, or you want more information on specific chords and inversions, like what fingerings are best, check out my chord mastery playlist free right here on YouTube. Good luck practicing this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.